Hi, viewers. I'm Scott Huggins again, and this is Cereal Box Stories Part 5. Cereal Box Stories, the stories you get in 5-minute boxes. And this is Heroes in Training, Giantkiller Part 5. We left off with Jack and Phil discussing the giants. What were you princess of then? Asked Jack. Phil looked up at him. You know, Jack, just when I think you're going to forget how the breathing thing works and topple over in the road in front of me, you say something that makes me suspect there's a brain working in there. She sighed. It was an enchantment a long time ago, and it makes an even longer story. Besides, the witch is dead, and we don't have the time. We have a mission to accomplish, which means trading me for these beans. That's the only thing we know about this man Volkanova was meeting. He has beans, unless. She looked up at Jack expectantly. Unless what? He asked. Jack, Phil said in a low tone, you're standing in the lane with the princess who's been bewitched into the form of a cow, who likes strong young guys with a lot of learning potential, and who doesn't particularly want to finish a mission that could well result in her being turned into prime rib. Phil paused. Princess. Enchantment. Transformation. Happily ever after? She stuck her muzzle up into his face and whispered, Does that suggest a course of action to you? Jack leaned down, his lips moving toward hers. Like what? He whispered back. I knew that kissing her would have broken the enchantment right then, of course. Had I known Phil then as I know her now, the half-elf assassin acrobat, the agent with nerves of mithril and skin of alabaster, the woman with enough sheer sexual magnetism that you can track her in a city simply by looking which way the statues of the local fertility gods are pointing, I might have done it. Right then, I needed her as a cow. The mission needed her. For only as a cow could she impersonate Bulganova and fool the Bean Man. From Chapter 5, Cow of the Wild, a man called Jack. If you don't mind, said Jack, I'd like to have a few words with my cow before we part. Sure, kid, said the man. His face was completely obscured by the hood of his cloak, and the voice seemed to come out of the darkness. The beans he'd handed Jack were large and gave off a heady green smell. He kept feeling like they ought to move when he touched them. Jack led Phil a slight distance away. He knelt down to talk to her. Good work, Jack, she said. Now slip one of those beans inside my collar. We'll get the technical section to work on it after I've escaped. Jack did so. Will you be all right? Oh, Phil tossed off lightly. Sure, Jack. I've been in lots worse places than this. Well, at least once. What do I do with the rest of the beans? He asked. Phil shrugged, insofar as that was possible for a cow. Just hide them where no one will find them, she said. Whatever they are, I'm certain they're dangerous. Are you sure you'll be all right? Jack asked. I don't like the bean man. I can't see his face there. Are you sure he isn't one of those things that man was not meant to know? Phil glanced under Jack's arm at the bean man. I doubt it, she finally said. Probably he's just an engineer who's selling company secrets. They don't get out much. Now, Jack, you're well clear of this. Go home and forget that any of this ever happened. Those last words seemed to take on a special resonance, as if they'd been spoken in a large and invisible cave that enclosed just the two of them. He nodded and handed Phil's lead over to the Bean Man, and then he went home. He felt a bit uneasy at leaving Phil with the Bean Man. But even if he was a thing man was not meant to know, Jack supposed Phil wasn't a man, and there probably weren't many things Cow was not meant to know, except perhaps what makes a really good barbecue. So Phil was unlikely to come to harm. The walk home was a blur. It seemed to him that the morning had been a dream. There was something very important he had to remember, and he did eventually remember it, but that was because being beaten systematically and thoroughly by an enraged farm waif who has just discovered that you have traded her only cow for 4 really odd-looking beans had a way of focusing even Jack's attention. He did remember that he was supposed to hide the beans where no one would ever find them. So, reasoning that only an idiot would plant crops slap up against the side of the house, he buried them there. When he was done, Jack was sure even he wouldn't be able to find them again. Sore and aching, his mind even blurrier than usual, Jack went to sleep. I can truly say that the planting of the beanstalk is the foundation on which my career. No. My entire character as an operative rests. Those who accuse me of rashness, or, and this only shows the depths of jealousy under which mediocre minds can sink, being under the influence of some enchantments, have simply failed to think the matter through. An agent like Bulganova would never put her master's invasion route in proximity to her lair. She must have reckoned with a chance, however small, that some sharp knave would recognize her. She could be compromised, the beanstalk could not. Therefore, this was the one spot in which no giant would ever expect the beanstalk to be raised, as Bulganova's absence might at any time be missed. Only my bold action would save the day, as they would save many other days. And though I would be called many things during the course of my career, a rebel, a renegade, and even a damned fool, I would never be called a coward. From Chapter 7, Jack of All Raids, a man called Jack. Jack, what in the name of St. Ignat's blessed balls did you do? The cow's head leaned in through the window as far as it could go. Jack awoke and knew he was dreaming because he'd sold Milky White the day before, or at least he must have because he'd been going to. Things after that was a bit fuzzy, but at any rate, cows didn't talk. Hello, Milky White. Are you in cow heaven yet? Cow heaven? Cried Milky White. Cow heaven? I'm in Special Agent Ninth Circle of Bloody Hell, the one with the Parliamentary Inquiry of Eternity and the expense auditor with 1,000 briefcases. What have you been doing, Jack? Jack looked around. Yes, he was still in bed, and it was still dark out. Sleeping, Milky White. Okay, so that's it for this week's episode of Cereal Box Stories, Giantkiller, and we'll be back next week to see whether Jack survives an encounter with an enraged cow. All right, everyone, see you next time, and as the werewolf said, like and subscribe.